Good evening, guys. This is Richie Otis, and welcome to the Programmer's Up tutorial for PHP. The last time in our tutorial, we discussed about how to set up your WAM server, how to set up your MySQL, your Apache, get it running, and we created a folder in the root directory of our PHP, and we were able to run some few short basic programs. And the index.php, we talked about its function. It says the first file your web server looks for before loading your page on a web browser. So tonight we are going to be going deeper into variables, concatenations, operators. We have the arithmetic operator, the logical operator. And let's talk about the arithmetic operator. We have the plus, we have the minus, we have the division, we have the multiplication, and we have the modulo. Now, these four logical operators, arithmetic operators, we are going to be putting them into practice in a short while. So before we do that, we have to create our folder and create a PHP file, which I've already done here, and that is inside my root folder, which is the WAMP, the www directory folder. So what I'll just do now is I'll go ahead and create my PHP tag, and I will have an ending tag. Now I want to display how the plus operator is being used, so I'll create a variable first number and I will assign 5 to that. I'll create a variable second number and I'm gonna assign 25 to that. Now I either need a third variable to catch all the addition of the two numbers, or I just go to my echo statement and I'll say first number plus second number. So I think one of the best practices is to represent that in a variable. So I will have a variable answer and I will have first number plus second number. Then I will have my echo statement and I'm gonna echo my answer. So once we go ahead to our browser, we have 30. Now we are also going to be branching into what we call concatenation. Concatenation means trying to concatenate a value of the same type together, or a value of different type with another type. So let's assume we want to make this answer more descriptive. I want to say answer is equals to 30. So that means I have to concatenate a string literal with my answer. I can do that. PHP accepts either the single quotation or the double quotation sign, so you can either use that with a precedence. So I will use a double quotation and I will say answer is equals to, then I will concatenate. For you to be able to concatenate this string literal and the answer variable together, I will just write my dot, and if I reload my page, I will have answer is equals to 30. Then we'll be talking about the subtraction operator, which is the minus. We have 5 minus 25, that should give 20, minus 20. Then we have the division. Now we need to say 25 divided by 5, and that should give us 5. And we have the multiplication, and that gives us 125. And we have the modulo. Now what the modulo operator does is it checks for the remainder in when you try to divide two numbers. It checks if when the operation is done, there is a remainder. So how do we write a modulo operator? We write it, it's going to be a percentage sign, and the modulo of 25 divided by 5 will surely return 0. So we have 0. So let's try 25 divided by 4, and that will return 1. So that is basically what the modulo operator does. Then in a quick short while, let's talk about the array. Now the array is a collection of elements of the same type that can be put together in some kind of brackets or a fold. So how do we declare an array in PHP? You declare an array by saying the name of your array, that is array name. So say array name is equals to, there is an inbuilt function called array, and that is preceded by a opening and a closing bracket. Then we have our statement terminator, which is a semicolon. Now in my array I can have several strings, several integer values, several float values. But if I'm having a string in an array, that means what I should be having throughout in that array is a string. So let's have an array of names. So separated by a comma, build. Okay, we have 3 names in our array, which is false, jazz, build. Now we want to print the value of this array. We want to print the first value in this array. What we just have to do is to say echo, and we say array name, and we specify. Now the array is being selected by what we call an index of an array. The index of an array starts from 0 in PHP. Now for we to pick the first value in this array, we say the array variable with a square bracket index 0. And once I reload, and I will have the value false. If I do the same for 1, and if I do the same for 2, I will have this. Okay, I will have, and that will throw an exception because I'm trying to print all the values of an array. So for me to be able to get all the values of my array, I need to make use of a loop. Now that brings us to how do we make use of a loop in PHP. There are several types of loop. We have the for loop, we have the while loop, we have the do while loop, we have the for each. So if we are to get the values from this array, we need to implement a loop. Now we have what we call a for loop. To implement a for loop in PHP, we just say for. Then we have the starting point of the loop, which is a variable name, which is initialized to 0. The variable name is I, and we say I is less than or equals to a final destination, and the increment operator I++. That means the I++ simply means I is equals to I plus 1. That is what that means. When you see I minus minus, this means I is equals to I minus 1. So that is basically telling our loop to go one step at a time. So we can decide to change this and make it go 2 times. So let's assume we are asked to write a program that prints 1 to 10. I'll just start my I from 1, and I will say my I is less than or equals to 10, and I will tell my I to increment once. So all I will just do inside the braces of my for loop is I'll echo my I. So I'll echo I, that prints 1 to 10. So now the only way you can access the values in an array, you can print all the values in an array in PHP, is to access it by the index. Now the only way we can increment that index is to use a loop. So the don't forget I said the index of an array starts from 0. So we need to initialize this can be any variable, not necessarily I. So we need to initialize I to 0, and we need to say I is less than. Now we are going to say I is less than the size of our array, which is the size of array underscore name. There is an inbuilt function for PHP that is called the size of. In C# I think we have array.length, but in PHP we have the size of. So we say the size of array underscore name, and we tell it to increment by 1, because once it starts from 0 it increments by 1. It checks if is equals to that size. If it's not equals to that size, if it's not less than that size, if it is not greater than that size yet, then it keeps incrementing. So all I'm just going to do is say echo array underscore name square bracket, then I will have my I, which is the index of my array. So once I reload, I have my result. Now the result is kind of jam-packed together. So for us to be able to separate that, we need to introduce a bit of HTML. So learning PHP means you have a preview knowledge of HTML. So what I will just do is the concatenation we talked about earlier, I will just concatenate the break tag in HTML with my result. So for me to be able to print an HTML tag or send an HTML tag to my browser with PHP, I need to put the HTML tag in a string. So I'm just going to say br. Then once I reload this, I will have my answer kind of formatted. So thank you guys for watching the tutorial. I hope to see you guys next week. So we will bring us some new things, and keep coding, keep learning, keep improving. Good night, guys.